رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Good morning to all on Eastern time. Good afternoon, good evening to those in other parts of the world. We'll do a quick Q&A inshallah ta'ala today. This morning we try to service our brothers and sisters in different time zones. It's early here. Bismillah. Inshallah, everybody is well. So before we get started with any questions, a book I have here in one of my libraries, it was gifted to me a couple years back, which is called Figh al-Amri bil-Ma'ruf wal-Nahi anil Munkar. Alhamdulillah, a book that was gifted to me by one of my friends, which is called the Figh, the proper understanding, the dynamics of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Figh al-Amri bil-Ma'ruf wal-Nahi anil Munkar. The author says, Talif Abi Suhaib Sayyid ibn Bayyumi راجعه وقدمه فضيلة الشيخ المحدث Mustafa ibn al-Adawi. It was reviewed and endorsed by Sheikh Mustafa al-Adawi. This is an excellent book. Obviously, it's a modern day book. And the book basically speaks on the different masail, the different issues pertaining to enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Obviously, the old ancient issues and rulings and the modern day applications, the modern day new things that have popped up that may have changed, and bringing light to supposed new issues which are actually old issues, or issues over which the scholars of Islam in the past spoke on and they talked about already. Okay, so the fiqh of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. And of course, you got the stamp, mashallah, beautiful violet, the purple color. Perfect match today. Hat trick, inshallah. What I'll share with you guys today is just one issue. There are many beautiful issues in this book that are very important today, especially when we talk about what's happening in the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make things easy for the Muslims. Ameen. So he speaks on the characteristics and the attributes of those who are to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. He speaks on different issues with regards to women. Can a woman enjoin the good and forbid the evil? Can a woman forbid the good or forbid the evil, enjoin the good upon a group of men? He speaks about a child enjoining the good and forbidding the evil upon his parent, okay? Or a student upon his sheikh. If the sheikh does something that's clearly wrong, is it correct? Is it befitting for a student to check the sheikh, basically? Now, khair inshallah. All right. So he says here on page 117, مسألة إنكار الزوجة على زوجها والطالب على شيخه ومعلمه. On page 117 it says, مسألة, an issue. Can a wife enjoin the good and forbid the evil upon her husband? And can a student enjoin the good and forbid the evil upon his teacher, upon his sheikh? Or is that considered to be disrespectful? Is that considered to be, being obscene and disrespectful? He says, عقد الإمام النووي رحمه الله في كتابه الأذكار بابا في وعظ الإنسان من هو أجل منه، فقال اعلم أن هذا الباب مما تتأكد العناية به، فيجب على الإنسان النصيحة والوعظ والأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر لكل صغير أو كبير إذا لم يغلب على ظنه ترتب مفسدة على وعظه. He quotes Nawawi, may Allah have mercy upon him, in a book which is called Al-Afkar, which is in English, Remembrances. And it's a chapter that Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala mentions regarding, can a person preach to, can a person speak to, can a person remind someone who's better than him, someone who's more virtuous than him, he has more knowledge than you, he's older than you, he's your sheikh, he's your husband, etc. He says this is a very important matter. تتأكد العناية به. It's something that is to be looked after. It's something to be looked after. It is a must. He says, يجب, is a wajib upon a person to give advice and to preach and to enjoin the good and forbid the evil upon everyone. صغير أو كبير. Small, young, big, old, rich, famous, husband, wife, above you, subordinate, insubordinate, etc. Everyone. Ad-dinu nasiha. The religion is sincere advice. As long as he feels confident that it won't cause a greater harm. As long as he feels confident that it won't cause a greater harm and a mafsada, a mushkila, a problem that will come if the wife says something to her husband, if the son says something to his father, so on and so forth. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. Then he mentions a few other quotes here. The moral of the story is that this is a fiqh ruling, and there are going to be railroad tracks that are going to switch over and cross over. Enjoining the good, forbidding the evil, but at the same time, this person is, you're supposed to respect, you're not supposed to talk back to this person, you're not supposed to question this person, so on and so forth. Wallahu ta'ala alam. And he speaks on Surun min al-munkarat, different examples of evil, widespread evil in the marketplace, at the dinner table, fashion, beauty, in the street or in the streets, in the masjids, all types of munkar, things which are wrong and evil that have become widespread and, popular and publicly accepted, unfortunately. And the different punishments that will take place if and when we abandon enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. May Allah make it easy for us all. Very interesting book. Let's get started, inshallah. Muhammad Noor, Assalamu alaikum Mufti, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, barakallahu fikum. Furqan Nuruddin, Assalamu alaikum Sheikh, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Aisha M, good morning, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, good morning, barakallahu fik, jazakallahu khairan. Muhammad Noor MW, Garissa, Kenya, is it proper to call scholars from the past who are not athari na aqidah imam who deserves the title imam? It's like a yes and no answer. Some say that an imam mimman yuqtada bihi is someone whose example is taken and followed, i.e. in all of the deen. Not perfect, but in all of the deen, let alone in the major issues of the deen. So therefore, if this person was not upon the way of the athar, clearly, some say that he shouldn't be called an imam, but at the same time, he shouldn't be disrespected. He can be called hafiz, who he's a great hafiz, all right? So on and so forth. Wallahu alam. Others say that rather, if you say that, if you make that statement, that this person cannot be called imam, sorry guys, it's like really getting on my nerves. If you say that that person cannot be called an imam, okay, no problem. Why? They say because he wasn't athari. But there were many great scholars, whether they were this or that, but weren't necessarily athari. And what is the definition of who is athari? There's an imam who is athari, but he may have some mistakes or some ijtihadat, some issues of ijtihad. So that's a long discussion, and once you open up that Pandora's box, it's not going to be closed on who or who isn't an imam. But in general, as a default rule, a person who was clearly upon other than the aqidah of the athar, the safest thing to say, if you feel this way, not to say imam. Khairan. Wallahu ta'ala alam. And of course, there are different levels of imamship. There are different types of imams. Wallahu alam. AJ from Luxembourg. If you get asked if you had any girlfriends, can you counter ask the question, or is it revealing sins? It depends on the situation. There are times in which, for sure, you have to conceal your sins. And then there are times in which you may use an indirect expression, such as you're sitting down with a sister, you're trying to get to marry her, and she says, did you have any girlfriends in the past? Are you a virgin? So on and so forth. And without you having to reveal your past sins that are in the past, you may say to her, well, if that's a condition for you to get married, then you know, inshallah, you can marry someone else. The message, the point is clear, and you don't have to reveal your sins. And then there may be other situations in which a person may have to be blunt. And you may have to reveal a sin, but that sin is in the past. And it's not a current day sin that you're doing. So it depends on the situation. And of course, the default is not to reveal your sins, but there are times in which it may be permissible or obligatory to reveal certain sins in certain situations. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Question says, coming from Saliu Aswad, Cape Verde Islands. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Watching you live from Cape Verde Islands. We love you for the sake of Allah. I personally, as a student, have learned a lot from you, Sheikh. Barakallahu feekum wa alaikum salam wa jazakallahu khairan. Thank you for the love. May Allah bless all the Muslims, all the disciples in Cape Verde Islands. Ameen. Hopefully one day we can travel there and meet you brothers in person. Jazakallahu khairan. AD from Yonkers, New York. Is it valid if a non-Muslim calls the adhan? A Muslim has to call the adhan. It's ibadah, it's worship. AH from Nairobi, Kenya. Sheikh, what kulliyah would you recommend at Imam Muhammad bin Saud University? Well, I'm not that familiar with that university. I've met different brothers, different graduates from there who've had, you know, my respect, alhamdulillah, but I haven't studied there myself. I don't know. I think it's like any university. Do what you're, you know, naturally inclined towards. Of course, we're biased for hadith. Of course, we're going to encourage you go to the section of hadith, whether it's a specific college or a qism, of course. But if there's a great benefit in the fiqh, no doubt about that. I think that university, Muhammad ibn Saud, has a strong reputation of fiqh and qada and things like this. So if you can go there and master that and learn that, then that's a great deal of good. A great deal of good, no doubt about that. Whether you study the Hanbali madhab or focus on the Hanbali madhab, and which is a great deal of good for the madhab al-Hanbali, or whether you take the comparative route or any other of the traditional madhahib. Wallahu ta'ala alam. KA from Birmingham, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What are the most beneficial surahs to memorize after I finish memorizing the Juz Amma? Well, it depends on how far you want to go. If you don't have the aspiration of memorizing the entire Quran, then memorize, I would say, parts from Baqarah and parts from Surah Ali Imran. Ayatul Kursi, the last three of Surah Al-Baqarah, for sure. And parts of Ali Imran, whereas there's a great virtue in reciting Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran, and what they protect you from, and how they keep sihr away from you, so on and so forth. Okay? Wallahu ta'ala alam. And if you have the ability to memorize all of the Quran, step by step, that can be your life mission, inshallah. No matter how long it takes you, you die doing it, that's fine. Wallahu alam. Abu al-Akhira Shamsuddin, SHDC. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can you direct me to a tea that is good for pain relief, mainly in joints? Barakallahu fikum. Wa fikum barakallah. Yes, I can, inshallah ta'ala. There are many different teas that are good for different ailments in the body. If you have pain in your joints based off of inflammation or an injury, it depends on which of the two. All right, inshallah, inflammation or both. It depends. In general, I would say, of course, there are different types of teas, and some teas are very comprehensive and have many health benefits. And from them, in my humble opinion, is tea Kuan Yin. Tea Kuan Yin is a type of oolong that is very good for digestion, for health, for inflammation, for many, many different ailments of the body. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Mr. Khan, ZI, Brunswick, Germany. Can children between 7 and 13 years old combine Maghrib and Isha in summer when the days are long? If it's a difficulty upon them, then you do so, inshallah ta'ala. However, you have to eventually and gradually teach them and show them that the prayer is mandatory in the proper time, and that they have to schedule their day, their rest, their eating, their sleeping, their playing around the salah, around their salah, all right? But for argument's sake, different European countries, even sometimes here in the United States, sometimes the Fajr is right around the corner, Isha is late. So some scholars have allowed this, especially in certain parts of the UK, certain parts of Europe, Scandinavia, different parts high up in way up in the north, in which the Fajr and the Isha is very, 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 very close back to back. Wallahu ta'ala. Question is coming from Abu Kitten, AK, Bloomington, Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. What's the correct understanding of whether or not the repentance of a murderer is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I've seen various opinions. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. All sins are forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jalla in hereafter, except for shirk akbar. Period. But the scholars, they discuss if you kill a Muslim or you've killed someone, let alone a Muslim, not the fact that Allah won't forgive you, but there has to be some type of retribution. There has to be something that you pay. There has to be something that you give. With regards to the ayah in Surah At-Tawbah, and Abdullah ibn Abbas being quoted as from the last things that have been revealed and sent down. Okay? So that is the crux of that argument. Not that it can never be forgiven or won't be forgiven, but the fact that there has to be some retribution. All right? And the severity and the gravity of killing a Muslim, spilling the blood of a Muslim. If I were to murder someone, if I were to murder a Muslim, I would try my best and strive my hardest to make tawbah and constant istighfar and constant sadaqah, hoping and begging for Allah to forgive me, and of course doing what you can for the family members of that person that you murdered in this world. But don't lose hope and don't give up. Wallahu ta'ala alam. KA from Manchester, UK. If I have advised my mother many, many times to eat with her right, for example, but she keeps forgetting due to habit, what is the rule and advise her continually after that? You give your advice slowly, easily, respectfully, and gently. Gently. Don't overburden or annoy your mother, especially if you've already advised her. Wallahu alam. AJ from Luxembourg, is it better being buried in a Muslim land, being transported and delaying burial on a current country, which not perfect rituals of burial like non-Muslims putting you in the grave? It's a very interesting question. And of course, you're going to have to pick your poison. Being transported will allow you to live in to be in the Muslim lands, to be buried in a Muslim cemetery, so on and so forth. But at the same time, that's not the sunnah of transporting the body. It being permissible is a discussion. Scholars have allowed it with conditions, but that's not the default. And the hastening of the janazah, okay? The hastening of the janazah, all right? Let alone the money that it costs to ship the body, so on and so forth. That money can be given in sadaqah on your behalf. So it's up and down. I would say try your best to make the best out of the situation locally. Wallahu ta'ala alam. AA Huntsville, Arizona. Assalamu alaikum, Imam. You're the only Muslim. If you're the only Muslim in your family, no Muslim children, no wife, where should I direct any inheritance that I may have? Inshallah, jazakallah khairan. Inshallah ta'ala, you're going to put it in your will, and you're going to have someone be the one who stands as an exeter or of your will, someone who executes your will. Inshallah ta'ala. Okay, you have no Muslim family members. A non-Muslim inheriting from a Muslim inheriting from a non-Muslim is problematic. Inshallah ta'ala, you give the money in sadaqah, fi sabilillah. But have someone take care of that. Even if it's a non-relative, a non-family member who is a Muslim, who's trustworthy. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Ashraf Craw, RA, Nelson, UK. If I travel more than 80 kilometers, then I'm traveling back and prayer time comes in when I'm less than 80 kilometers. Can I shorten, assuming I follow the 80-kilometer rule? Jazakallah khairan. If you're traveling within that distance, you're traveling. even if it's less on the way back. What's important is you've traveled the distance of the 80 kilometers and you're of that view. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Barakallahu fikum. MA, Manchester, UK, clarity. Can kufr also be described as a systematic oppressive institution? Of course, kufr is a systematic oppressive institution. What's the rule on saying affirmations for positive mindset every day, such as I love to make calls to new prospects, despite it not being 100% true right now? You have to battle your nafs. And you battle your nafs the best way that you can, as long as it isn't haram. If you have to say something to yourself or you confirm something, etc., that's what you do. LBEO from New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey. What's the rule on making dua for non-Muslim other than asking Allah to guide them? Perhaps you can make dua for Allah to heal them, cure them, to protect them. Muhammad Noor, what's the ruling on shaving the sides of the beard and keeping a goatee? Where you come from, Muhammad Noor? R.A. Nelson, UK. I traveled 300 miles to visit my brother. After 2 days, I traveled 100 miles to another city for the day, then back to my brother for 3 days. Am I traveling throughout my time at my brother's? Inshallah ta'ala you are. AK Bloomington, Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum mufti. I study for a particular field, supply chain, but it seems as though all the roles have some element of riba from my experience so far, and it's been difficult finding a job in the field. Should I take this as a sign to switch to something else? Maybe a sign or a good omen, quote unquote. What's important is there are many difficulties in the workplace, and there are many different occupations that are going to include some type of riba or dealing with riba directly or indirectly. And these different occupations and fields are needed by the Muslims. An example of this, and this goes to show you the fallacious nature of many of these different rulings that people make and come up with. La riba banks and getting a house, a halal mortgage, halalifying a mortgage. Tayyib. So in order for there to be Muslim realtors and Muslim real estate dealers and so on and so forth, banks, they have to be certified. They have to be insured. They have to be educated. They have to be a part of the system to serve the Muslims. Correct or incorrect? They have to be a part of the system to keep the Muslims outside of the system. So if no one is going to be a part of the system, who's going to serve the Muslims to keep them away from the system? Understand my point? MA, Manchester, UK, Sheikh. Any advice for someone with self-doubt for how want to study and better themselves? Yes, you make dua. You make tawassul. You beseech Allah through His beautiful names and perfect attributes. And ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to give you the necessary strength, mentally, physically, spiritually. All right? And the confidence when you're supposed to have confidence. And the self-esteem when you're supposed to have the self-esteem. AS London, UK, Sheikh, any advice on getting khushu and salah? It's been a huge struggle. Please help. Yes, avoid idle talk, especially before the prayer. And avoid idle talk, especially after the prayer. MN, Nairobi, Kenya. What's the rule on shaving the sides of the beard and keeping a goatee? Haram. The Muslim man is obliged, it's wajib, to keep the following hair on his face. Number 1, the cheekbones. Number 2, the jawbones. Number 3, the chin. And some scholars make an honorary 4th, the unfuqa, this little piece of hair here. That's wajib. It is haram to shave any hair. Cannot be done. So you cannot just have a goatee. Wallahu alam, a systematic goatee. Khalif Basha, barakallahu feek, hayakallah, barakallahu feekum. CB from College Park, Maryland. How should a Muslim get out of debt? By making dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bik. Make dua from those 8 things. And from that, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمِنْ ضَلَعِ الدَّيْنِ وَغَلَبَةِ الرِّجَالِ. It's from the weight of debt and the overpowering of men. Okay? And Aisha radiallahu anha narrated Other companions narrate the Prophet when he would make a dua before he believed the prayer, he would seek Allah's refuge min al-ma'thami wal-maghram, asking Allah to protect him from al-maghram, from debt and the weight of debt and the burden of debt. So that's the spiritual aspect. And of course, involved in that is asking Allah to enrich you, asking Allah to give you wealth, asking Allah to bless your wealth, constantly making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, who is a razaq, to give you better rizq and to give you wholesome rizq. Also, I think that every Muslim, to an extent, should be a minimalist. It doesn't have to be a neo-Nazi super minimalist. It's haram to have 2 bowls. You can't have 2 forks. You can't have a second pair of shoes. We're not saying that. But you have to minimize the things that you acquire and the things that you amass. And the Muslim has to avoid hoarding things unnecessarily. And he has to avoid buying and spending money on things that he doesn't need. And that's why many of the Salaf, no doubt, when you read their athar, they condemn the people that would amass things, that would hoard things. So being a minimalist is a part of Islam. And it's one of the reasons why people fall into debt and why one of the people fall into riba. Wallahu ta'ala alam, wallahu musta'an. Khadija Abdul Mu'min. KA, Manchester, UK. Could you please help me as a beginner to find a good resource to read interesting biographies of some of the most common men in the asanid of hadith for motivation? Al-Kashif في معرفة من له الرواية في الكتب الستة الذهبي رحمه الله تعالى. تهذيب التهذيب الحافظ بن حجر رحمه الله تعالى. الخلاصة للخزرجي رحمه الله تعالى. AJ Luxembourg, how many languages, dialects do you understand? Sheikh, may Allah bless you. Just one, barely one, English. MN, Nairobi, Kenya, ruling on using phrases such as tasawwuf or calling yourself a Sufi when you practice the art of ihsan without committing to tariqas. Also, are tariqas valid? What's important is the practice, not the name. There's so many different names out there nowadays. The best name, of course, is the name that Allah has given you, and that is Muslim. You can't go wrong with that. As far as some of the different movements, the different modes, the different tariqas, etc., then it depends. What's from Quran and Sunnah is accepted. What's outside of Quran and Sunnah is bogus. It's rejected. It's fake. It's phony. No matter who practices it, no matter who endorses it, no matter who allows it. If it's not based off of Kitab and Sunnah, then it's nothing. Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala said, "Ma lam yakun dinan fi zaman an-nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ashabihi, fa innahu la yakunu dinan ila qiyam as-sa'ah." If it wasn't deen in the time of Muhammad and his companions, then it can't be deen until the day of judgment. It's just that simple. Wallahu ta'ala alam. AD from Yonkers, New York. How many hours of sleep do you average per night? Oh man. Allahumma musta'an. May Allah make it easy for us all to get good quality sleep. Jazakallahu khairan. Nuruddin, Furqan Nuruddin, FNDC, can you recommend a short metin from a classical scholar to teach in the masjid? Countless mutun. Countless. It depends on what you want to teach. And it depends on what you mean by classical scholar. That's a relative term. I would advise you teach a small book on Sirah. On the HD channel, we have a playlist, Tahdhib al-Sirah al-Nabawiyya, Al-Hafidh al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. It's a very concise book, taken from a larger book on the prophetic Sirah. Start off with that. Use our playlist to help you out with the translation or the explanation. Wallahu alam. Is nothing more beneficial than the Sirah for the Muslim. AG, Cairo, Egypt. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. May Allah increase your knowledge and preserve you. Should someone memorizing the Quran strive to memorize each stopping point and their place, Sawd, Jim, etc.? Inshallah ta'ala, there's nothing wrong with that. You know when you have to stop, when you should go. Yes, I would say that's from the etiquette of memorizing, and the teacher should instruct you in that. If you don't have a teacher and you're following someone online, then you follow the person online. It's very simple. This is where Abdul Basit stopped. You stop where Abdul Basit stopped. Wahakadha. Wallahu alam. Jack, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. You're my favorite teacher. May Allah bless you. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, because may Allah bless you as well. Thank you for the kind words. MA from Manchester, UK. Any advice on tea or the diet choices for strengthening sexual libido? in general, tea in general is good for health. It's good for your health. And virility, for a man or for a woman, the libido, sex drive, the desire for sexual intercourse, um, is a part of your health. And many people, they misunderstand and they neglect these different things. Just like you have to sleep this amount of hours, just like you have to eat these amount of meals and this green leafy vegetables, you have to drink water, just like you have to exercise. Your body also needs to fulfill its rights with regards to um, your sexual desires. That's what Allah has given them. And when those things remain in your body for a long time, you become sick and ill, and it is bad for you. So your health is like a box, a checklist. I slept this, I ate, I did this, I exercised, I walked, I got fresh air, I did this, and I also made my wife had relations. That's how things are supposed to be. It's supposed to be a full circle of health. So therefore, tea in general supports good health. Many benefits in teas and different types of teas in general. Clear on that? As far as if you want a specific tea, which is good for your libido, whether it is or isn't an aphrodisiac, whatever the case may be, then I would say reach out to us, inshallah. At Mufti, we have a homemade tea, which is called Lover's Brew. No joking, being serious and mature, it's called Lover's Brew. And it's a tea that we have made specifically for married brothers and sisters to, inshallah ta'ala, if you're good, you'll be better. And if you're not so good, and inshallah, by Allah's permission, it will make you at least good. And all jokes aside, not being funny, people being immature out there. If you're married and you have bad sexual relations, no sexual relations, it's going to have a strain on your marriage. And I've said this many times before. The problems in the bedroom lead to the arguments in the kitchen. The problems in the bedroom lead to the arguments in the car, lead to the arguments in the masjid, lead to the arguments on the way from school. So many husbands and wives, they argue, they fight, they have problems because things are wrong in the bedroom. So that's a part of your marital health. And a man should have a good, balanced sex life. That's very important. It's very important. All right. And if your sex drive or your sex life is lacking or is weak or is poor or suffering, that's fine. Everyone has different problems and issues. It's not a shameful thing. Men have different problems and dysfunctions with their body. It happens. It happens. But the problem is you not looking after it and not taking care of it. Right? And the same applies to a woman. A woman may have an issue with her body. There are dysfunctions. Things break. Things get messed up. People get sick. Things happen. But what are you doing about it now? So if I could tell you how many times I've counseled couples from around the world, all different races, all different ages, they have major problems in their marriage. And no doubt, oftentimes at the core of their marriage is a bad sex life. So the cure is out there, whether it's through tea, whether it's through knowledge, whatever the case may be. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Question says, S.A. from London, UK. I have made hijrah. Can I come back to visit my family for work purposes, training for a week or two? MashaAllah, barakallah feek. May Allah bless you. And may Allah make many Muslims like you with regards to the importance of hijrah and the forgotten importance of hijrah. If you have to come back for a necessity, for a need, for a short period of time, you do so, but make sure you get right back out. Wallahu alam. K.A. Manchester, UK. Sheikh, there are many Zionists in my company want to have a good influence. Is learning about the official narrative of the history of Zionism enough, or do I need to diverge? I think every single Muslim has to have some basic knowledge, at least basic, about the history of Zionism. And that is because Zionism is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Rather, I would humbly say, everyone living should have some knowledge of Zionism. And that is because Zionism has harmed many people, if not all people, including non-Muslims. There are different theories of Zionists and Zionism, and there are different types of Zionism as well. There are different types, okay? The early founding fathers of the Zionism Brilbaum, Herzl, and different early Zionists versus the modern day Zionists or the Middle Age Zionists. They're different levels. There were those who believed in a Jewish state outside of Palestine. There were those who believed in a Jewish state inside of Palestine, but not at the expense of the Arabs and the Muslims and the Christians. And then there were those who were Zionists who were totally, absolutely fanatical racists and bigots. And we would take all of Palestine, all of Jordan, all of Lebanon, and Egypt as well. Because God promised us, etc., 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 etc. So the different levels of Zionists with regards to wars and the fabrication of wars. They're different levels. Okay, let these stupid Gentile goyams go to war, and we'll benefit from it. So many people have went to war, lost their lives, lost their legs, lost their sons because of Zionism. So Zionism is a danger. It's a fact. That's a historical fact. So you have to know basic things to avoid and to stay away and to protect yourself. Don't go to the extreme. Don't busy your day and your night with everything Zionism. Have a balance, right? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question says, essay from non-UK Mufti. May Allah bless you. Could you give a talk lecture on Ibn Hazm, please? I'm traveling to Andalus. Little was known. He also divides opinions, so interested to hear your thoughts. Jazakallah khairan, inshallah. Ibn Hazm, no doubt, is a great imam, great hafidh of the deen. And he is, no doubt about it, one of my personal inspirations. That's a fact. FP, USA, what is the ruling on bowing in martial arts setting? Well, you shouldn't bow. You aren't allowed to bow to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you did a head nod of respect, that's one thing. But the arch of your back is not to be bent. If you nodded your head, you lowered your head, mumkin, maybe. But the spine and the back bending, no. That should be avoided. Wallahu alam. AK Lanuke Mufti, how can a khatib gain verbal fluency and eloquence in their speech? Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. You got to keep practicing. You got to keep giving khutbahs. You have to keep reflecting. Okay? You have to work on your skills. Of course, your talent is a big part of it. How much talent you have, how much natural talent you have. But you have to hone that talent to skill. So you have to study Arabic well. You have to memorize well. You have to review well. You have to study English well. Right? You have to rehearse. You have to practice. You have to gain confidence. Right? And I think if I can give you any gem, speak to the people as if you're speaking to yourself. SA in the UK, as someone soon to be married, inshallah, wallahi, I'm nervous about the sex life. Given I grew up in the West and it's fitna, I'm going into the complete unknown. Any advice? Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Getting married, consummating the marriage, that's natural. That's the natural way. As they say, let nature take its course. If you would like to arm yourself with some knowledge, then do so. Of course, there are rulings to, as we just said, the sex in Islam, what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not do. All right? Learn the basic etiquette. Learn the basic, things with regards to having a healthy, responsible sex life with your wife or with your husband. There's nothing wrong with that, inshallah ta'ala. And before you know it, inshallah, the natural way will take place, inshallah. Our last question today, AA from London, UK. Is the darood and dua we make before the taslim obligatory part of the salah? If I recite the tashahhud, raise my finger, then end my prayer by saying salam, will my prayer be valid? Tayyib. Well, when people say durud or darood, what's important is as-salah al-ibrahimiyya, at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawat, all right? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad, right? For sure. Inshallah ta'ala, you make your salat with those two. And in the last tashahhud, you should make Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adha, etc. All right? But most of the ulama, the overwhelming majority, hold the view that that which is obligatory is the first two, not the third, seeking Allah's refuge for those four things. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina Muhammad. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. Inshallah, please don't forget to check out HDVIP, the exclusive content, exclusive lectures, exclusive behind the scenes clips and footage information that you can find on our website, HadithDisciple for a very low, affordable monthly subscription. Also, don't forget to check out muftihadith.com. Also, don't forget to check out, inshallah ta'ala, our sisters class, our sisters book club, right? We have several different events for the sisters, for the disciples, the intense hadith course, the upcoming hadith disciple book club, HDVIP, inshallah ta'ala. For those who wish to reach out to us, you can do so from the convenience and confidentiality of your own home via Zoom. You can book those appointments, marriage counseling, actual marriage, divorce guidance, personal tutoring, personal Q&As, HadithDiscipleshop.com. In the comfort of your own home, full confidence. You don't have to wait in line. No one has to see your name, your questions, so on and so forth. To learn how to find out for our different services or to benefit from our different services online, please visit HadithDiscipleshop.com, Hadith Disciple VIP, Mufti, Hadith Disciple Sisters Hadith class course that we're in our second semester of now. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasuli nabina wa imamina Muhammad.